Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. I'm glad you could join me here today for this recap show and really pulling together the whole week, the best of the week. I'll be bringing you two new research studies that I think are pretty pertinent, things that you'll want to know about for sure. I want to go over some of the things going on at Equilibrium Nutrition. Definitely a very popular product this time of the year to be using with inflammation, to balance those healthy levels, to deal with allergies, to deal with any hives, histamine-based issues. And that's something that we'll be talking about more in the future as well. Going over a lighter tasting olive oil review. We'll share that with you today. One quick book review, and then many, many more things to come. So we've got a big show today. I love these Friday reviews because instead of talking about one topic, we're really going through a bevy of different individual topics that kind of can't find their own home. So they come together on this eclectic Friday review, and always excited to share these shows, plus all the different things we have coming up in the future as well. So this past weekend was Memorial Day weekend here in the United States. I hope that anyone listening here, they got to take a little time off. I know a lot of people have been kind of stressed and anxious and, feeling a lot of isolation and not in the best mindset or mood with having to social distance and be inside. And I know many people got to meet up with friends and family. They got to take a little time off for a long 4-day weekend or so. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, blending into Monday. So I really do hope that you got a little bit of R&R. I hope that you're feeling a little bit better, that you're in better spirits. And I can tell you here in New England, up here in Maine especially, the sun is starting to really shine. It's starting to feel a little bit warmer. We're breaking into the 60s, Fahrenheit that is, for all of our friends overseas. And, the weather is starting to really get beautiful. This is one of my favorite times of the year. You can kind of feel that warmth of summer starting to creep in a little bit. Not quite there yet. And it's a great time for me just to be outside, to do some, yard work, to do some gardening. I'm putting together my own barrel-based sauna, so it's going to come in 1,000 pieces essentially, and I'll be putting that together. I'll definitely be posting some videos on that of all the different work that I've already done to clear the space. Super excited about it, and really excited because I'm doing the whole project by hand. So it's just one of those things where if you do something with your own hands and then you're going to have it for years to come, like this barrel sauna will last for decades, that every time I'm kind of using it, every time that I'm in it, I can enjoy it that much more because I just felt like, I did it, I had something to do with it, and it's a nice project for me to be outside. One of the great things about a barrel sauna is that you do get to use it outside. I'm not necessarily ready to recommend the one that I'm using. The reason is I haven't used it yet. So that's the whole thing about Friday reviews. I love giving you the best of the best, but what I want to do is I want to be able to use the products first before I can recommend them to you. So that is where we're at right now. Our Equilibrium Nutrition team has put together an amazing offer for this week. It is $100 off food sensitivity testing, a really great offer. This is one that I like people to really dive into and dig into, especially with the summer coming up and maybe being a little bit more liberal with certain foods. But it's a time to assess, and it's a time to say, okay, these are all the foods that I'm eating right now. Let me test my IgG, immunoglobulin sensitivity, and see if these are foods that are causing inflammation when I eat them. And remember, we're only testing for healthy foods. So if you're eating these foods, though, although so-called healthy, again, it's all about, is it healthy for us? We want to know, are they affecting our overall rain barrel, right? Are they filling it up with inflammation, which could lead to skin rashes and brain fog and fatigue, joint pain, muscle stiffness, hives, etc., right? So we want to look at all those different things. The food sensitivity is one of the best at doing that. You can find that over at equilibriumnutrition.com, and it's $100 off, which is pretty amazing for this week. Good for the whole family, 2 years old and up. All right. So, and that also comes with a 30-minute consultation with one of our amazing health coaches. Okay, next up, I want to share with you one of the most popular products that I never talk about, and I'm not even sure if I've talked about it to date. So I want to share it with you today. It's a product that I use myself this time of the year, and again, anything that I do personally, I want to share that with you. So you know I'm a huge fan of alkalizing vitamin C. I do that essentially every single morning and have been since I've been traveling in February. And the reason is I'm trying to boost my immune system to keep that immune system charged. So I'm doing about 3 grams a day of vitamin C. Yes, there's some in the daily nutritional support, about 400 milligrams, but I want a bigger dose. I want to get a gram per day or more. Whenever I'm trying to keep my immune system boosted, well, then I'm going to be doing anywhere between, about 3 grams per day is what I do, 2 to 3 grams per day. So a great product, though, because, I always have a little bit of a flashback this time of year, April, May time of the year, to horrible seasonal allergies. Now, luckily, I no longer have to deal with those, but they were debilitating. Not regular allergies. We get a runny nose, you get some itchy eyes. No, it wasn't like that for me. When I had allergies, they were debilitating, meaning I couldn't open my eyes. They were swollen shut. They're not almost, I always say almost. There were actually cuts on the inside of my eyes. My eyes would get so dry. And it didn't matter how much Benadryl I used to take back in the day. It did not matter how much. I used to take 2 Benadryl every 3 hours and it wouldn't touch it. Don't do this at home, but I was taking 12 to 16 capsules of Benadryl a day and it absolutely did nothing for my allergies. My allergies were so debilitating. That's with Zyrtec and all sorts of different products. Well, flash forward now a number of years, and I've fixed my gut. I've done my functional detoxes every season, and obviously now I am where I am today and doing a whole lot better. But, I know programmed within those genetics, there is that mast cell activation disorder. And what I do is this. Simply put, during this time of the year where if I'm going to have allergies, it'll be right now. I just want to keep them at bay. The best things that you can do that, again, the best things in the world are quercetin, stinging nettles, bromelain, N-acetylcysteine, and vitamin C. There are other things you can add to that. Those are the 5. Those are my go-to. And that's why we have this product called HistPro. Now, you don't need to use the Equilibrium Nutrition HistPro. However, it's an amazing product. It's an absolutely amazing product. And I take 2 to 3 capsules at each meal, so 3 times a day. 2 capsules 3 times a day for me. If you're suffering with greater allergies, you would do that along with larger dosages of vitamin C, which is a natural antihistamine. Again, I'm not telling you how to treat or diagnose or cure any disease, but what I'm saying is this is what I do. This is what we use in our practice. And at the same time, if you do have allergies, if you do have asthma, look at those underlying root causes. Run the starter kit or run the Big 5. Figure out if you have gut issues. Figure out if you have lower calcium and magnesium levels. Figure out if you have lower zinc levels. I'm a huge advocate of basically finding out where you're deficient so you can begin to work on those. But nature has also provided us with natural antihistamine-based herbs, stinging nettles, quercetin, and then vitamins such as vitamin C. And then we have these great sulfur-based amino acids and these precursors for phase 2 detox and things that loosen the mucosal secretions, which is N-acetylcysteine. Now, we don't put a big dose in there, but of course, if you wanted to use additional N-acetylcysteine, you could do 600 milligrams once or twice a day. All right, bromelain, another great one. I'm a huge fan of this enzyme that's able to essentially help with allergies, healthy levels of inflammation, and also breaking down any type of pathogens in the body as well. We'll keep it at that. Okay, so big fan. I will link that up today, but of course, you can always just go to equilibriumnutrition.com. You can find the labs there, the Big 5 or the starter kit. You can also find HistPro or alkalizing vitamin C right there. All right, I told you that I would bring you a lighter tasting olive oil today. I've done olive oil reviews in the past. I am always trying different types of olive oil. So definitely look for this over the next 2 months. I'm going to be creating a resource page. I did it for the rain barrel effect, but I'm going to do it a little bit more fancy for people. And it's going to be all of my favorite products. So basically, every year during the holidays, I kind of give you all the different brackets by price range and all my favorite, kind of little health goodies along the way. But what I want to do is I want to create a resource page where I'm continuing adding things that I use in my own life. So I typically use a pretty pungent olive oil, meaning like the kind of olive oil when you put it on food, and you taste it, it has bite to it, right? Those are the polyphenols, high levels of polyphenols. And the company I've recommended in the past, well, they actually grade it by levels. And the more polyphenols, typically, the more plant-based antioxidants. So really, really powerful. However, not everybody wants to be blown away by their olive oil, right? And so there's a great brand called Sky Organics. I believe I have their castor oil as well. I just can't remember off the top of my mind, but I'm pretty sure I have their organic castor oil. So they do a lot of organic-based products. Anyway, I want to give them a little shout out. And this one I'm going to link up for you. I mean, really not expensive product at all. I think 2 bottles is like $29. So what's that, like $14.50 a bottle, something like that? So it's a pretty good deal. And again, you want small bottles of olive oil. You don't want the, I was just about to say ginormous. You do not want the enormous bottles of olive oil where they oxidize quickly. You want smaller bottles, somewhere around 16 ounces or so. You want them dark. You want the olive oil organic. You want it cold pressed. Ideally, you want it first pressed, and you want it unfiltered. And Sky Organics does all of this, and it comes from Greece. So Greek olives are fantastic for those polyphenols and for those antioxidants. This is an extra virgin olive oil. The nice thing is, too, you can use this on products, and especially with kids, and it's not going to have that bite to it. So, feel free to try it out. Again, it's non-GMO, it's all organic, it's extra virgin, it's cold pressed, it's 100% olive oil, no other oils mixed in there, and it's coming just from small organic farmers in Greece. So really nice. Again, I'll link that up and check it out. All right, what do I want to share with you? Okay, I'm going to share with you one more review for today, and that's a book that I just finished reading. I don't believe that I gave you a review in the past, but I've been doing so much work with our new IHP course, Mastery. Those are for people that have passed level 1. That begins actually next week, right? What is today's date? Today's date is the 29th, I believe. Yeah, and it begins next Monday on the 1st, so super excited about that. In Mastery, what we're doing is we're helping our health coaches take their ability to get consistent results for themselves, their family, or their clients to the next level. That's really what it's all about. It's like how to help people when they need to make tweaks to their protocols and programs and changing variables, but also about mindset and also about getting people in the right state to be able to complete these things and for lasting results. So anyway, I'm really excited about that. One of the books is called Thanks for the Feedback. And I'm trying to look here because I feel like I already gave you this just a couple of weeks ago as I started reading it. But I finished it. It's okay if I reviewed it a second time. It's called Thanks for the Feedback, and it's actually for anybody. So it's not just for coaches. But, if you have a job where you work with the general public, or basically if you're in a relationship, it's a really nice read because it allows you to really talk with people and take feedback. So take better feedback in a non-confrontational way, as well as give feedback in a more constructive and positive way. So really great for leaders, really great for, again, anybody in a relationship, anybody, maybe they're a manager in their company or they're a health coach, personal trainer, yoga instructor, etc., where they're working with someone and trying to, well, again, take criticism, but also be able to give constructive advice in a really great way. So fun book, not a big book, not a long book. I'll link it up today at stevencabral.com/1575. I'll link HistPro up there. I'll link the olive oil up. I'll link this book up and our next 2 research reviews coming up right now. But before I get to those, I want to share with you, we've got a lot of reviews coming up. So I'm going to be talking about a breathing retrainer, so basically to improve lung capacity. Excited about talking about that. I'm going to be talking about a product that will actually help you improve your heart rate variability and basically relax that central nervous system. I'll be chatting about that. I'll be talking about an indoor quality meter that measures CO2, that measures VOCs in your environment, basically all the invisible toxins, right? You can actually measure those, though, with this device. I'll be going over, not probably, but the cleanest coffee on the planet. So I'm excited to bring you that and much, much more. So definitely stay tuned for upcoming weeks of the Friday review on the Cabral concepts. All right, let's get into now all of the research I want to share with you. So now let's move on to our Friday review. The research, every Friday, I like to bring you at least 2 different research studies that will hopefully propel you to continue to live that healthy lifestyle. And if you're not already living a healthy lifestyle, or you know someone with a particular health issue, one of these studies may just be for you or them. So what we want to do is go over some really pertinent research on how different types of fat at a meal can lead to brain fog or an inability to concentrate after that meal. So this is especially important. And really in this day and age where a lot of us are kind of inside more, we're focused more on the foods we're eating, maybe eating more higher fat meals than we should. And what the research has shown is that people that are eating, and I'm going to qualify this, so I just want to make sure I'm going to qualify it. People that are eating a lot more higher saturated fat are actually dealing with higher levels of brain fog and poor concentration. Now, again, I want to qualify this. This was a study that looked at people eating a lower polyunsaturated fat, sunflower oil, versus a higher saturated fat meal. And what they were actually mimicking was typical everyday people who might be eating at like McDonald's or a fast food-based restaurant. So this is basically standard American diet type things. But this is important because as I've mentioned before, people with gut permeability issues do not do well with saturated fat. And I want to repeat that because I know that we all like to take sides sometimes, right? It's like saturated fat is good or it's bad. Keto's good or it's bad. Low carb is good or it's bad. Well, we don't have to do that. We can choose who it's right for and who it's not right for. And although some people have no issues really with saturated fat, their omega-6 to omega-3 score looks good, their cholesterol looks good, everything looks good. And they're not ApoE genotype 4, like everything is good, right? Okay, no problem. But if you have intestinal permeability, we know that if you take in more saturated fats, even healthier versions of saturated fat from, let's say, grass-fed, grass-finished animals, from pastured-based eggs, et cetera, et cetera. I don't have to go through the whole list, right? So what happens is that these fats end up binding to bacteria that are in the gut, and they get shuffled, essentially, across the gut wall. Now, this leads to what's called endotoxemia, or just endotoxins in the blood. And this creates a greater amount of inflammation. Well, in this study, what they found was just one meal that they saw a difference. Basically, researchers found a difference, and they actually correlated it with leaky gut. And this was great to see. Not great that people had this, but realizing that intestinal permeability, now combined with higher fats, especially saturated fats, leads to more brain fog. It leads to a poor concentration. And the reaction time was actually much less. So I'm going to link up the study here for you. Remember that in the meantime, while you're fixing your gut issues, you might not want to go on that high saturated fat diet. It might not even want to be on an overall high fat diet because the next study they want to look at is not just saturated fat versus an unsaturated fat, but actually versus saturated fat, unsaturated fat, and a lower fat diet and what that might do in terms of concentration, focus, and overall brain fog. So again, more good research to come, but I just wanted to share that with you because, again, typically what we're looking at as normal fat in the diet might be somewhere around 20 to 30% for maybe up to 40%. And then as we start to get above the 40% and we start to get too high in those saturated fats, it could cause issues with people, especially if they do have leaky gut or intestinal permeability. One way to check for gut-based issues is to simply run that Candida metabolic and vitamins test and what's called the bacteria and parasite stool test as well. Okay, you can find those at equilibriumnutrition.com or your local functional medicine or integrative health practitioner. The next study I wanted to share with you, this was super interesting because I'm always looking for more reasons why I should be biking, I should be walking, and I should be cutting down on my time spent commuting in traffic. So what they found was that people who walk or cycle or travel by train to work are at reduced risk of early death or illness compared to those who commute by car. And this study was done with over 300,000 commuters, and this was done over in London at the Imperial College London and the University of Cambridge. Now, it looked at deaths from heart disease and cancer. So really important, right? And this was published in the Lancet Planetary Health. And let's see, it was actually tracked for 25 years. So pretty impressive. What I want to share with you is this, is that walking to work was associated with a 7% reduced rate in cancer diagnosis compared to driving. Pretty phenomenal. And about the same rates for cancer, heart disease, etc. The paper also went on to say that those who drove to work, so let's see here. The paper also revealed that compared with those who drove to work, train commuters had a 10% reduced rate of early death a 20% reduced rate of death from cardiovascular disease, and a 12% reduced rate from cancer diagnosis. This is likely due to them walking or cycling to transit points, although real commuters also tended to be a little bit more affluent in taking care of their health to a larger degree. So we can never discount that as well. So really important because it looks like about 2/3 of all people drive to work. So if we were to get people to take the train, cut down on car congestion on the road, and to even bike or walk to the train station, or if they're able to, let's say that your commute is under 5 miles or so, if you were able to bike, well, you'd be able to get to your work in under an hour easily on a bike. And if your work was just a mile or so away, would you be able to walk to work? So all of these things are just more reasons why, if we cut down on traffic, we're less likely to be stressed, right? So that reduces our cortisol levels, which means we have less stress hormone moving through the body, which means that can absolutely cut down inflammation in the arteries, blood sugar dysregularity, inflammation, etc. But also being out in the fresh air, moving our body, improving circulation, getting in our 10,000 steps per day, all goes a long way to improving our overall longevity and overall health as well. Hopefully these studies were helpful. Again, I will link them up today at stephencabral.com/1575. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, if the show was helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone you believe it could serve. And I'll be speaking with you tomorrow on our Cabral House Calls, where we answer our community's questions each and every weekend. Take care, everyone. Have an amazing weekend. Rest, relax, enjoy. Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only 2 ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to stephencabral.com/rainbarrel.